the order, please? Please rise. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call.
Guinness? Here. Belazovic? Here. Whitley?
Here.
Fisher? Here. Waldron?
Here.
Minutes of the board meetings, March 5th and March 7th. You have a chance to review them. The changes? We'll dispense with the minutes as written. Item 5, adopt the agenda for this meeting. Is there any more additions?
17 correspondence.
17, correspondence.
Motion to approve it with the addition.
Susan makes a makes the motion to approve the agenda as written with the addition, and Craig seconds. All in favor? Police report, Chief.
We have quite a full agenda tonight, so I'm not going to say a whole lot. Stand with our statistical report that will be in the paper and say it's amazing how many complaints we get involving Facebook. I'm so glad they invented it.
Regarding what?
Facebook. Committee reports, Marina Park.
Marina Park reports that we couldn't have a meeting in March because working with volunteers, they were having too much fun in the sun.
You don't want to hear it. EDA?
Everything's still being worked on.
Okay,
That's about it.
okay, thank you. Park Commission,
And we're just waiting on the snow.
aren't you in charge of getting rid of all this stuff?
Yeah.
What decided us today? Beautification?
Well, we're getting ready to send a few benches to the school for repair, recleaning. The high school class is going to be making a sign for Hideaway Park. It's something that they're going to, it's all going to be wood, and they'll round it out and make a nice pretty sign for that. We're also going to involve the high school kids in cleaning up the signs, the entrance signs to Indian River. That's about it. But we're going.
Okay. Planning Commission?
I don't think anything new since the last meeting.
Okay. West Side Road End Committee?
We are very pleased. Give you the check for $508.46 with the plan. Someone would hand it to Mike, thank you. With the plan for Kathy Bunker. I spoke to Kathy this morning. She says as soon as you write her check, she'll start working on it and get it back for you to sign for the final windshield.
Okay.
And I think Gordon has a couple questions, and Kathy will get a copy of that. And I was putting on PDF form, but I didn't have enough time tonight, so.
Okay.
You saying she does not need to, we don't need to make a copy?
No, you don't
of
need to
everything?
make a copy. I have her a copy that I'm putting on so everybody can see it if you want.
Thanks, Donna.
I would put in charge of the Ellinger Road dock. We're now accepting donations. We're going to do fundraising and whatnot to come up with the funds to build that. The dock itself is going to be built to DNR specifications. It's going to look just like the dock that we have down at Marina Park. Handicap accessible, the whole 9 yards. Would you like to see us put that out for bid, or can we, the community members, put that together? How would you guys like to see the dock done?
Jim, how did we build that other one? Did Mullen build that? Mullen build
Yeah,
that?
that was all in the.
All in the price?
Yeah, it was all in the price, they run that. Well, are you saying the community, the members are just gonna donate the time, or you're saying?
Well, it would be the donating the time and the material. We
Well,
have,
I don't think you have to bid it if you're gonna donate the time and the material.
well, it's up to you. I mean, if you guys wanted us to get bids and actually bid it out to, I know there's a dock company down in Wolverine. We have got plenty of general contractors here in the area. But
No, I mean, I don't think you should just go hire one person,
Okay.
but if you're gonna, if you guys are donating the time and buying the material, I don't have a problem with that.
Okay, good deal. Thank you.
Thank you. Airport manager?
No, I don't have nothing new.
Okay, that's good to hear. Treasurer's report.
General account, $703,945.59. Tax account, $10,435.67, and that is without interest.
Okay, thank you, Bob. Item number 10, Peter Warden, Young et al. Versus Master Francesco et al. Somebody from Peter Warden's office here? Yes, sir. Your name?
Chris Huffman. As stated in the petition, we are requesting abandonment of certain roads. We have the minutes from the road commission, the draft minutes, they have approved abandonment of the same road, so we'd ask the same with the township.
Tim, did you have explanations on it?
Well, I don't know if this will help the board. Probably will answer a few questions. This is a drawing of the area that is in litigation at this point in time. And the proposal for abandonment would include the area of, excuse me, of what is known, I have a cold and recovering here, so my voice keeps coming and going. It includes the area of what was commonly known as Lake Boulevard, which runs from South Avenue on the south end to River Avenue on the north end. A portion of the area that was dedicated as Lake Boulevard has now been developed as the Township Park area. The individuals that I represent, Mr. Warden's office represents individuals by the name of Mr. and Mrs. Harless, who own a property which is between Lake Boulevard and Mack Avenue. I represent a number of back lot owners that actually have lots on Mack Avenue. And I see Mr. Hanson here, and he represents I misspoke, I apologize to you. Mr. Hanson represents Mr. and Mrs. Harless, okay? Mr. Warden represents Mr. and Mrs. DeYoung. Mr. and Mrs. DeYoung own property which is located between South Avenue and Mack Avenue. The Harlesses own property which is immediately north of Mack Avenue. And what is proposed to be abandoned is the area on this drawing that is shown as Lake Boulevard, which runs all along the lake, all the way down to the South Avenue boundary and all the way up to the River Avenue boundary. This would include two road ends, the Mack Avenue road end and the Oaks Avenue road end. The Mack Avenue road end is the road end that my clients are involved in, and it would also include the abandonment of what is shown on this drawing as Pine Street, which runs between lots 41, 43, 40, and 44. The Sheboygan County Road Commission did consider this at an initial meeting in, I believe it was in March, and then they tabled it and they considered it last week at their second meeting in March, and they did approve the abandonment. And at this point in time, the abandonment is now before the Tuscarora Township Board at this point. I don't know if you have any other questions. I mean, I think the drawing sort of explains what is being proposed. I can try to answer any questions that the board may have. Yes, ma'am.
The road end, Mack Avenue, that is being made into a private beach.
Yes.
For the use of Mack Avenue lot owners and Mrs. Watson, lot
Yeah.
number 1.
Yes.
There was some question at the first road commission meeting that if they abandoned it, I believe it was you that asked them to do that with the stipulation that the approval for putting in a private beach was given by the Sheboygan County Planning Commission, because they would need to approve this private beach. And apparently they've never done that in the past, and there's some question whether they would at this point. Do you have any update on that?
I do not at this point.
When the road commission abandoned the roads, they did not do it with the exception that this be approved. So what happens if they do not approve a private beach?
Well, the area, the people that would have the opportunity to use the private beach is exactly what you said. It would be the lot owners, excluding the DeYoungs and the Harleses, that reside on Mack Avenue, as well as Mrs. Watson, who has this property over here, which is lot number 1. There is some question, I suppose, in terms of whether the county would take enforcement action or whatever if there was an abandonment and individuals were using that, you know, as a private, as a beach area. The issue, of course, is that the people that I represent have claimed that, you know, going back to the 1950s, either they or their predecessors in title, you know, have used that lakefront area, and that the private park is basically just a substitution for what the historical use has been. But at this point in time, until there was some definitive action by both the road commission and the township, it was not felt that my group would pursue a variance until we knew what the position was. And quite frankly, as I stand here tonight, I can't tell you whether they will or won't pursue a variance.
But by the road commission abandoning the roads, and now you're asking the township to abandon those same roads, that would in effect, we would be approving this settlement agreement.
Yes.
And this settlement agreement specifically calls out for the establishment of a homeowners association.
Yes.
And collecting, you know, fees and doing this whole private beach thing. If this is not, if they're not able to do this, then does everything become null and void? Because it's not, you know, that's part of the settlement agreement.
Right, and from my client's standpoint, obviously, they intend to, you know, continue to use that property, and they believe that the settlement agreement would in fact, you know, govern the usage of the property going forward.
But that's not how the settlement agreement is written. It calls for an association and a
Yes.
private beach.
Yeah,
And
it does.
how do you police that? Who monitors that? My concern, and I think I expressed this at our last meeting, is lot owners, the back lotters, if you're called, the people that are affected of this on Mack Avenue, have indicated that this was their solution, this was their way of keeping it open to everybody, to be able to keep it just like it is now, so people who are wanting to drive out there to go ice fishing in the winter particularly, can drive still out there. And it's not their intent to prevent people from doing that. However, the settlement agreement says that only these people can do that. So if they don't enforce the agreement, the settlement agreement, where only those people are using it, then the other parties to the settlement agreement, the Harless and DeYoungs, could come in and say, you're in violation of this agreement, and again, you're back in court. It just seems to me like it's a...
And I think you also heard my comments at that initial meeting where I agree with you, that my group cannot make a representation to the road commission or to this board that, you know, this would be kept open for the public. Obviously, Harles's and DeYoungs are basically part of the settlement. If they objected to that usage by the public, that could be an issue. And also, I don't represent everybody that is on Mack Avenue, so someone could get rights to this, to be able to use this, and in the future, those individuals could come forward and say, well, we don't want, you know, members of the public to traverse.
It just sounds like a flawed settlement agreement in many, many ways.
Well, the intent, quite frankly, was to try to address a lot of issues that sort of fell by the wayside over the years, including the township issue too, which was the abandonment of the area that is now, being used for the township park. But obviously, my goal here is to represent my clients, and Mr. Hanson's goal is to represent his, and Mr. Warden's goal is to represent theirs. But the idea was so that it would be a situation where we would be killing several birds with one stone by getting into this settlement, so that in the future, people couldn't come back and, and object or argue to, the use of the beachfront that the township has, for example, something of that nature.
Did you state that if the planning commission does not allow it, does this make this null and void and we start all over, and then this starts all over again?
It does not say that in the settlement agreement, okay? If the township does not approve the agreement, then at that point in time, it's my understanding that Judge Pavlich will move forward and make a decision on the case. We've already tried the case. The judge has taken, I don't know, a week's worth of testimony, maybe a little bit more, and he's held off on making a ruling pending an attempt to settle the case. And so if in fact the settlement does not go forward, then it will go back to the circuit judge and the judge will make a ruling.
And part of that would be the planning commission agreeing to that?
No-
That's my question.
No, there's not, I don't wanna mislead you, there's nothing in the settlement agreement that talks about the planning commission approving it or not approving it. Okay, it does not say anything with regard to that.
When a road commission abandons roads and then it comes to the township, we would have to abandon. If we decide not to abandon these roads, but to take them over as township, under Michigan law, we have the ability to do that. Is that correct?
Well, I don't, I'm not here to represent the township.
I'm
but-
not asking, I'm just thinking, I'm asking you.
But there is a priority, and that's why it has to come to the township for your approval, right?
Thank you, Tim.
Okay.
Larry, did you want to have a few words?
I'm here to answer questions, so.
Okay.
I don't have a presentation.
Okay, thank you. Any more discussion on the item?
I guess my concern is I'm still not clear, if we go ahead and abandon it, where the settlement stands. If the group decides not to go forward or the county rejects it, and the road commission's abandoned it, we've abandoned it, is it going to go to the county, you know what I mean? I don't think that's the right thing for our community, so I don't wanna put us in a position where we're just going along with it, but I also don't wanna create any more issues if it can be settled.
I guess I think we need to spend some time talking to our own attorney on the ramifications and some of these questions.
Yeah, I guess that's unanswered in my mind.
Yeah, I think there's too many unanswered questions.
I've gotten a few calls from constituents, well, and there's a concern that we're losing, the public,
I agree
to
with
say,
that. I
is
don't like
losing
that at
access
all.
to the roads. We lost King Road, we lost, so if you lose this access, you have to go all the way around to the other part of the lake. And particularly in the winter, I guess that's a bigger issue. I'm not an ice fisherman, obviously, but that's been one of the concerns. And little by little, the public is losing access to these lakes. And I really worry about that.
Yeah, I don't.
This doesn't include South Avenue though, that road end.
No.
So there would still be that road end for
Right,
ingress and
but it's
egress
up high,
too.
you can't drive a truck on the ice.
You can't?
No.
Okay.
Pretty tough.
Okay, yeah, and this is road end use.
Yes, right.
Yeah,
Okay, so I can just giving it up.
I would suggest we table it and have a meeting with our own attorney, and if we have to have a special meeting and go in closed session and talk to our attorney, and that's what I think we should do. I think we all have questions.
Yeah, because I'm just not comfortable with the fact that there's not a decision
on the backlot owners,
I'm not
that if
comfortable,
it doesn't go through, what happens?
I-
I'm not comfortable creating a private access, private park out of a public road, but
Yeah, that is a real mess right in our
I think it's a huge mess for the police department. I,
We can say this for public comment, please. Roger, public,
Could I ask a question?
oh, who?
Anybody, why do they wanna make that a private beach? It's not a large area. There's no problem at the end of that street.
Well, according to the two lot owners adjacent to it, there is. I mean, that's my take on the subject.
yeah, there's a lengthy lawsuit involved. in it.
Yeah, it's been going on for years.
I think the township has had an attorney in this, and I think we need to talk to him. So
Yeah.
I would make a motion, we table it and talk to it.
I'll support that motion.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
I'm sorry, Roger.
One thing that I kinda understand, Mr. DeYoung and Mr. Hazlitt, either one of them don't pay lakefront taxes at all?
They do.
That's right?
Not Mr. Harless. It is not assessed as a lakefront property, but Mr. DeYoung is.
His property in front of him is still Lake Boulevard though, isn't
I
it?
think it's been abandoned, that part has been abandoned.
That was set aside in this agreement.
Was it? I can double check, but I think, seems to me I've looked at it, and I'll look at it again. Thank you, Ron. Gourdie Fraser, presentation for wastewater treatment facility options. Mr. Joe Elliott's here. Yes? Is this a question about road ends?
Yeah.
Yeah, just a minute, Joe. I'm sorry. Mr. Doc, go ahead.
Yeah. My name is John Dock. I live at 6515 Mack Avenue. And just for the board, so that you understand another side of this is this isn't a group of people trying to grab waterfront property. What's happened is if the judge makes a decision, that road end could be closed down anyway. So we think our solution at least keeps it accessible to the public and to the people that live on Mack Avenue. So when you do speak to your attorney, ask him about what could be the options that could happen if the judge has to step in and make a decision.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Tim. Sorry, Mr. Elliott. Yeah, I'll just set it sideways so they can kind of see it and we can see it too.
Ready?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Good evening. I'm Joe Elliott with Gourdie Fraser Associates. And what I'm going to talk about tonight is the wastewater treatment plant site and the location of your water supply well on that parcel. And the map you have in front of you, and you've all got a smaller version of this, it shows the waste treatment plant site. It also shows the rapid infiltration beds. That's the crosshatched area down near the bottom of the site. It shows a red circle, and then it shows a black, not really a circle, an ellipse, I guess. And they represent isolation areas from the infiltration beds, the wastewater treatment. The reason we have those on there is in order to stick a well on a parcel, you have to meet certain isolation distances for that well, depending on what type of well it is, residential well, or a commercial well, or a community water system well. They all have different isolation zones that are based on rules that are put in place through the Safe Drinking Water Act. So, what we've shown on here is originally, have the waste treatment plant here. The crosshatch area is the rapid infiltration beds. That's where the effluent goes after it's treated at the plant, and it's discharged into the ground. Originally, we showed the well down in the southeast corner of the parcel. We had some discussions with Mr. Kavanaugh from the health department, and he was concerned with the isolation distance. We have that currently. That well is about 600 feet from the infiltration beds. And the reason we stuck it down in that corner was to get the proper isolation. Mike's concern was that a according to a type 3 well, which is what this would be categorized for the wastewater treatment plant, that isolation distance needs to be 800 feet. We've had a lot of hydrogeologic study done on this site before, back originally when it was looked at, and then we did some additional, some supplemental work last year. And that hydrogeologic study shows about 85 foot of sand, and then a clay layer, and then an aquifer below that. And the reason I say that is the criteria for the isolation area is stated in the Safe Drinking Water Act, but there is opportunity to get variances on that isolation area. As I said, we're about 600 feet from our infiltration beds there. Currently, as a type 3 well, the isolation distance would be 800 feet. So we applied to the DEQ for a variance from that isolation area. They have a copy of the hydrogeographic study. They may require some additional test pumping. They may require you to put in a well and test pump it to prove out the hydrogeologic study. We're waiting to hear on that yet. It's been sent out to Lansing. We've been working with Holly out of the Gaylord office as well as Mr. Kavanaugh and at the local health department. And we're waiting for a response from the DEQ right now. We expect to have that in the next couple of weeks, we would hope. In the meantime, we've been discussing some other options in case we don't get the isolation zone. Township owns a parcel here, and a parcel here. So they're all outside of this black circle, which is the 800-foot isolation zone. So you could stick a well up on your township parcel here to serve the wastewater treatment plant site. The pipe ends up being a couple 100 foot longer than sticking it way down in this corner. So it's a couple 100 more feet. And we would put that in as a type 3 well to serve the wastewater treatment plant. Mr. Kavanaugh's other concerns was the two parcels to the north. You have 4 parcels that are currently owned by the Onaway Community Federal Credit Union. And we show well locations on all those parcels in this drawing. What you see is a well location, and there's a small circle around it. That's a 75-foot isolation area, which is from most everything else that you would see on a development site. Sewage lines, stormwater basins, things like that. So we've shown that on each well, and then we also show the 800-foot isolation area. As you can see on here, the 2 north parcels are fine. We have plenty of room to get in a well there. The parcels to the east, this parcel is actually combined now, so they would have a well location here as well as the other parcels. So the affected parcels would be these 2 here. And what we've had some discussion with Mr. Kavanaugh on is putting this in as a type 3 well, converting it to a type 2 well, 2B well in the future. And then providing water service to these 2 parcels. There are some other options to be able to serve them in case we do not get isolation zone reduction. And we've had some discussion with you and the credit union people about how we would do that. But for now, we're just waiting to hear on the isolation zone. And once we know on that, then we'll decide which direction we have to go at that point. So glad to answer any questions.
So at this point, we're not going to be on the agenda tomorrow night. We're gonna table that till we have an answer.
I would recommend that. I mean, I think we want to wait till we have an answer from the DEQ, because otherwise you may be going down a road you don't have to go down, so. But in the meantime, I think we've done enough work to know what other options are. We have to move in a different direction, so. But yeah, I don't think we'd accomplish anything there. I mean, we could go and update the planning commission where we're at, but I think Mr. Kavanaugh's gonna be there, he could do the same thing, so. We'd be glad to do that if you'd like us to, so.
No, I think we might as well request it. We might as well wait till we have the answer on the 300 foot. So we have answers when we're ready to go there, we know what we're gonna present.
Right, yeah. It's always better to have the answers, so. Trying to think if there's anything else in regards to this particular issue. That's about it in summary. I mean, we thought about a lot of different options, but.
And you've talked to the credit union people, they know what's going on and they're on board.
So the DEQ okays that, and that takes care of everything
If we get a reduction in the isolation zone area.
from the DEQ?
From the DEQ, we're hoping they take it down to about 300 feet.
But you say there's provisions in the ordinance for that.
It's in the Clean Drinking Water Act, they state the isolation zones for each type of well, and then there's also a process for requesting a variance. We've initiated that process, and we provided a hydrogeologic study, which is one of their accepted pieces of information they need. We're still waiting to hear, they may come back and say, we want you to drill a test well and prove it out, which is.
And if we were to drill the test well, then we could just use that well for the treatment plant.
That's correct, yes. Yep.
Or we could leave it, if we got the reduction, we could actually just leave it for a well on our own parcel.
Up here.
Put our own on where you originally had a plant.
Yeah, or actually, we could put it closer
Okay.
once we get the reduced zone, but right now, we try to get it as far away as we possibly could, so. But yeah, if you did drill a test well, I think it would probably be well advised to put it there unless they just outright give you an isolation, but if they say, no, you have to drill a test well, I'd look at putting one here, because it's not gonna be wasted
Right.
effort. So, either way, if it proves out or it doesn't prove out, that's still gonna be a good expenditure of money, so. Any other questions on the board?
I've looked that thing over pretty extensively. As far as I can figure out with what you've got on that map, you drilled 2 bore sites down 60 foot down, right?
Yes.
You're running nothing but sand and gravel.
That's correct, I think they're actually maybe a little deeper.
And that
than
hill's about 80 foot tall above the plateau down on the other side of the expressway.
Pretty
From
close.
what I see from the core samples and everything, it looks to me like there's a real good chance of polluting wells on the other side of the expressway with that. And you
Well-
haven't done a bore check to see which way the water flows either.
Well, go ahead, I'll let you finish.
And, that other fellow's property, the Tom McSousa's property is right there inside of you, the black circle.
These 2 lots here.
Right.
Yep.
Looks to me like you need to do a lot more development on that, do some more research on that before you go ahead and do anything else.
Well, that's a learning process, as you can see, we've got a acceptable well location here, and the hydrogeo study does identify which way the groundwater's flowing, they've done quite a bit of work on that. That actually identifies the direction of the groundwater flow,
So which way does it flow?
it flows, kind of this way, to the northwest,
Kinda towards town.
to the north, it vents to the river
Yeah.
before it gets there, so, is what according to the hydrogeo
To
study.
what river?
To the sturgeon as well as the little.
But the sturgeon's over there quite a little ways, that map don't take in, it almost goes to the sturgeon, but not quite.
Yeah, this map.
Like you got Paula's Cafe sitting down there in the edge of that. Got property in the edge of that, and it's all wetlands down in there.
It's all part of the wastewater.
And that water's draining way out towards that way with that chemicals going into the ground? No.
How many monitored wells are out there?
Well, we have 2 monitor wells, right here, which would be, here's where your seepage beds are, right here, and then we have monitor wells here, about, a couple hundred feet north of them, right in the path where the ones,
I mean, you're
those
gonna
will be
drill
monitored.
monitor wells, you haven't got them in there now.
Yes.
We got 3 in.
Yeah, they do have some monitoring wells in there now, and then there's also monitoring wells to the south on the DNR property, too, so. So and the intention and why they're in here is because that's in the path of the flow, and the DEQ requires us to monitor those on a regular basis, while the plant's in operation, so.
Bob?
The property that, Craig would know better, the property that you say is the township lots, are those lots that are still up for sale?
Yes.
Okay, so they're the ones that
We own them.
haven't been,
Correct.
township owns, they haven't been transferred over, like the one in 2004, whatever, the property, okay.
Mr.
Maybe
Deeds?
once we got back.
Yeah, don't you think it would be better to, for everybody involved, if we wait until we got the facts on all these ifs, ands, and buts?
Okay.
We should table it until we know what we're talking about?
That's what we're working on, is this is a process of,
Yeah,
yeah,
to me, you're going off half-cocked, you know.
okay. We'll save that for public comment. Thank you, Mr. Deeds.
Well, I would suggest that we request that the planning commission table any action on this until 2 weeks, or hopefully 2 weeks, we'll have the answer from the state, and we'll have our answers, and so we're prepared.
Is that a motion?
Yes.
Support? Robbie supports, all in favor? Thank you, Mr. Elliott. Chamber of Commerce Walleye Tournament and Summerfest request.
We have received from the chamber requests for using Marina Park, and then for the walleye tournament, and then for, DeVoe Beach and Marina Park for Summerfest.
The walleye tournament, we haven't changed the date. So
Okay.
it's now June 8th instead of May 18th.
Okay.
So conflicted with another walleye tournament in the area.
June 8th, is that what you said?
June 8th.
June 8th.
We've received the application, but neither Marina Park nor the Parks Commission has had a chance to meet yet to review it. And I really think with, my recommendation is that we wait and let both Marina Park and the Parks Commission meet and do it and look it over first.
So we'll table this?
I would agree.
I mean, I have no problem agreeing,
Yeah, if we
approving it if they approve it.
If we don't have an answer by next meeting, obviously we have to take action.
Right.
Approve it contingent upon the parks and the park?
Yeah, I'm comfortable with that. Approving it as presented.
Yeah, I'm all right with that. I'll make a motion, we approve it contingent upon the individual entities approving it.
So that would be Parks Commission and Marina Park?
Yes.
Okay. Support?
Support.
Susan supports, all in favor? Fireworks contract.
Okay. Contract here for, there's a 4% increase from last year. Those things go up in contracts.
It would be $7,696. 50% do it contract signing.
How did our donations do last year?
I knew you were gonna ask that, and I went
You
3
should have an
times.
answer.
I know, I went 3 times to get it and got interrupted. By memory, 60%. Is that about right? Yeah.
I was kinda.
Yeah.
Do we have any other, I know everybody's being tapped out with all these donations and stuff, is there any way we can get more word out to the community about donations?
I think the committee needs to be formed on that to do that.
Yeah, we talked last year about
Yeah,
the
I
fireworks.
said I wanted
There's
the
all
fire-
sorts of different things that we've seen. But if you had a committee, you might be able to
Yeah.
I made a
really.
motion, Susan charges it.
Nope.
Jane, how much does it cost to make those little pins?
Oh, you mean like the little buttons?
Yeah.
Like campaign buttons? About 50 cents a piece. If you buy,
Yeah. How many could we crank out at $5 a piece? I mean, if we were to sell $5 a piece? So
Then you've gotta find the people to stand down there to
Well,
sell them and
that,
all
and plus
that.
you put
I
them in,
mean,
you put them in the different businesses, it's just, prior to.
They did not, I put things out last year in the different businesses and nothing. The only ones,
We have a button in there though.
I was gonna say, the only one was the barber shop, and I think it came from Mike and Dave, just about.
in Marquette, when we were up there, before last, they had fireworks donation jars all over town, but you bought a special little, one of those,
Wristbands?
plastic
Yeah.
bracelet things that are, bright yellow or colors in it, and it has Marquette this, and it's all printed, so it's kind of like a souvenir. So kids or people would buy, they're more likely to put money in if they got something, for, whether it's a button. I think, those wristbands might be.
I looked into the price of those, and those are pricey.
Are they?
Pricey to have embossed, you have them embossed and it's,
We
quite
could
a
get
bit.
them blank and have the students color them, how's that?
You get what you pay for.
Well, but,
Anyway, check with the school because they've been selling those necklaces.
Right.
And they've been selling them for $10.
$10.
So they must be getting them at a fairly reasonable price.
What are the necklaces, are they beaded necklaces?
No,
or-
they're just like a braided twisted.
Yeah, like the energy, the kids,
Yeah.
like the energy bracelets or necklaces and
Just
everything.
what I always wanted was a necklace.
Tell you what,
what? Those kids want
We'll
them.
get the glow in the dark one for you.
Thank you very much.
Do you wanna,
If you got a collector's item kind of a thing, you know, with a date on it, so, you know, it's worth something someday maybe.
It sounds like you need a committee.
found 2 people already.
Don't look at me.
Jimmy, wanna start a committee?
We'll talk.
Be representing CMU.
I'll make a motion to approve the contract.
Okay, Susan makes a motion to approve the contract.
I'll
And
support it.
Jane supports, all in favor?
Aye.
Yeah.
July 5th?
That's it.
Road commission request for support additional road funding. We're writing to Frank Foster and Howard Walker to show our support for increased road funding in Sheboygan County. Road commission has cut back in vehicle purchases, decreased employees, cut back on overtime, and not kept up with needed road repairs, all because of insufficient funding. It's no secret. It's terrible. Our township has stepped up and helped where we can, but that is not enough to help our failing roads and bridges. We are all suffering from these cutbacks and feel it is time for the legislature to act. Our governor has shown his support, but cannot do it alone. We need and deserve better roads in our great state. Please stop spending time and money on further studies and do the right thing for your citizens. We need better roads now. And this is what they're asking us to sign and to send to Representative Foster and Senator Walker.
So this is just a letter
Of
of
support.
support.
Bobby makes a motion to support. Is there support?
I'll support.
And Jane supports. All in favor? Any opposed? Rural Development Self-Evaluation Questionnaire. You want to take that, you work that?
This is one of the steps we have to take, and I had no good way to get it to everybody. It's for non-architectural barrier, and this is for an accessibility self-evaluation for our building.
For the building?
Yep.
Okay.
And more or less, and they'll look it over based on our answers here. If you guys wanna, I don't know if you wanna, we don't have to send this in right now. If you wanna get, I can make copies and you guys look at it and then go back over it next month.
What is the?
Is there anything you have specific questions on?
Some of them were hard to answer, weren't they?
Yeah, some of them were. Oh, curb ramps, we don't have any curb ramps because we don't have any curbs.
What is this specifically for?
The rural development, the loan grant.
Okay, so they want that as
Yeah,
part of that?
just part of the package, yeah.
Okay, all right.
And you know, and I guess I should have asked because it's gotta be for this building here. Is it for this building here?
Yeah, I can speak to that.
Okay.
We do that for other communities. Yeah, it's just for your call.
That's what I thought,
It's an
okay.
assessment of your barrier-free accessibility.
Yeah, that's,
So you wanna make sure you have barrier-free access to your building and then, you know, push levers on your doors, so it's wheelchair friendly. Which I believe with the age of your building, you're probably all set on that.
lever operated door hardware, that's just the push
Yep.
kind instead of the,
Yeah.
Automatic door.
automatic door, okay. Yeah, yeah, so I said yes, I mean, we pretty much are. I couldn't see anything that we weren't,
It's specifically for your township.
that's right. It's been a while, I filled it out in February, forgot about it last month until
Do we have an emergency warning system?
we do not have an emergency
No,
warning
isn't that
system.
not applicable?
Because our both is audible and visual alarm.
If there is an emergency warning system, so it's an NA.
Oh, okay, I read it wrong, I said, no, we don't have it. Okay.
Is that a resolution or is that a?
The board just has to, approve this so that we can send it out. I gotta put it in with the minutes.
We want to do that next,
Yeah, why don't you let everybody look, put it in the boxes and we'll just look at it.
okay. Table that one. Okay, 16, DNR land acquisition. We We are talking about acquiring another few acres from DNR south of the treatment facility. That would give us room to expand if it ever came up, or to possibly move the plant if we need to. But right now, it's just.
Or add to the industrial park.
Pardon me?
Or add to the industrial
Or
park.
add to
That's
the
something we've
industrial
talked
park,
about in the past.
Just need a motion to begin that process, which is a $300 fee just to make the application, to start the transaction. And it takes about 6 months to a year.
And this is where we already have the one monitoring well?
And we have the
Ready?
monitoring wells on there, yeah.
Is there a cost, I mean, if they approve the transfer then after that?
It was buy it at market value.
Buy it at market value?
Like we did the rest of the property out there, right? We looked at it a couple of times. I think the planning commission's looked at it, and it was looked at in the 90s when the other treatment plant was proposed out there.
Yeah, that was, they were in process of closing on that, and then it fell through, so.
I think they asked you why we didn't buy it when you were looking at getting the easement for the monitoring wells, didn't they?
So it doesn't commit us to buy it if we
No,
don't like the
no,
price or don't,
no.
but it just
Right.
gives us the opportunity.
I would suggest for $300 we start the process.
You have support for that?
I'll support that.
Jane supports, all in favor? Yes, sir.
That land, is that out there, by talking about the sewage plants going?
Yeah.
That's where the old dump used to be, and that's all contaminated.
Go by the gravel pit, the old pit there.
Yes. Rental run a dump there for years.
You got a brownfield?
The dump was south of that.
Yeah.
That's what I thought, was it south of that?
It was south of that,
South of the pit,
yes.
okay. Correspondence. Sheboygan County United Way, writing on behalf of Sheboygan 211 Committee. Human.
Okay, sure. A little over a year ago, they formed a committee to bring the 211 service to Sheboygan County. We were one of only 4 counties in the state not to have 211 service, which I had never heard of before. It's a toll-free 24/7 day-a-week number for residents to call to get information on health and human resources in our county day or night. They've raised the startup cost, and they have broken it down by township as to what is left to be done. My only concern is this considered a donation? Because we can't do that.
We have to have a contract.
I was gonna say, if they wanna give us a contract for 211, I don't,
What's the cost?
they need from Tuscarora $455.70.
Is that yearly?
It's very unclear.
That is not, oh, yeah, no, I'm sorry, your per capita cost, so yes. So I mean, that is a contract for 211.
Per capita cost?
Yeah, so that doesn't necessarily mean annual. Now that I'm thinking about it.
Oh, 15 cents per capita,
Mhm.
a yearly fee.
Okay, doesn't.
Stu, that is an MTA sponsored project, the 211
Right.
thing, and what that's doing is putting another layer of bureaucracy in of something that we already have. We have people that tell people like, okay, you can get food stamps here, or you can go there and get that, and all that's doing is putting in another layer of bureaucracy that we're all gonna have to pay for. So I just let you know.
Is that, Les, I don't know if it's currently being handled through the senior citizens village already? I mean,
So that's a project that the MTA is trying to get put through statewide.
well, there's only 4 counties that don't have it. So I'm just saying.
You can be one of them.
What are the other 3 counties?
They don't say.
I remember they did a presentation at the Sheboygan County MTA, and I'm trying to remember, I should probably find out what other townships are, you know, or maybe out on a limb if we were on the few townships that go in on it.
No.
Or they don't.
I mean, I set it aside, I didn't read it well, I thought it was looking just, because we get these for annual donations from United Way, we get a letter from them every year, and that's what I thought it was. And Bobby did a little bit better homework on it.
What's your thoughts?
Same thing is, I need to answer some questions, I don't really understand what it is, I've never
Yeah.
heard of it.
And,
When I read
yeah,
it,
I'm
that's
not-
what
I'm
they're
not ready
looking
to-
for
I
is
don't-
all the township.
I don't know enough about it.
There's,
Very vague.
I don't know, there's enough phone numbers in the phone book to call if you need some help, I'm not sure why we need another one.
Thank you.
We'll table that one. Table time. Any more correspondence?
Nope.
Citizen comments. I got, up to the podium, please.
Okay. I'll go around. Good evening. This is in regards to the proposed municipal sewer system.
Your name, please?
Bob Morris. Dear Mr. Ridley, I attended last month's meeting and I asked a few questions regarding technical information regarding the proposal. As a former manager of a wastewater system for over 30 years, I have a number of years of experience in producing operational budgets, working on amortization schedules for proposals exactly like this one, excuse me, producing repair replacement cost budgets as well. From what I learned at the meeting and from what I've been told, I have deep reservations regarding the future success of this project. Following are my concerns. Number one, I was told by your board that the amortization schedule is 40 years. I never dealt with one that long, as they were never recommended by our engineering firms or by our bond consuls, including Miller Canfield. Yes, it does reduce initial yearly costs, however, it increases the total cost to the customers. Furthermore, there will be situations where some of the equipment which is being paid for will depreciate and wear out before the end of the 40 years. Therefore, you'll be paying for new items while still paying for things which have worn out. With some of the high wear components, you could pay for the same piece of equipment 3 times, including the original loan. I would recommend that you seriously discuss this with your attorney. Number 2 is you don't have the final REU amount, perhaps, at least to my knowledge. Perhaps you should postpone voting on the proposal until you have all the costs for all the customers, including bond costs, operational costs, repair replacement costs, and administrative costs. I'm sure you don't want to surprise your constituents with added costs after the fact. Number 3, with the time of these discussions at this time of the year, the possible vote, the financial work needed to produce the needed documents, the time required for the engineering firm to go through the bid processes, the time required to obtain the funds, and the time for the successful bidder to prepare and to purchase required materials, I don't think you're going to be ready to begin construction until the snow falls, if you were fortunate. There is no hurry, and it may be a much better situation to allow all that paperwork be done next fall and winter. For instance, my former employer entered into a contract during the summer of 2009 with Miller Canfield to put together the required documents for the express purpose of assisting with financing and implementing the project. On July 8th, 2011, 23 months later, the beginning of the installation of the new force main occurred. 23 months. Number 4, have you considered hiring employees to operate the system rather than hiring an engineering firm? Quite often it can be more efficient. Running the size system requires a Class D license, from what I've heard, which is the easiest one to obtain. You should at least have someone do a cost analysis to find out which is least expensive. Number 5, I produced an amortization schedule 7 years ago, which was for a $5 million bond sale for 20 years. This was spread out over 4,394 residential equivalent units, and the cost per equivalent was $82 per year. With a $2.6 million bond sale, which will be paid for by less than 200 residential equivalents, from what I gather, it will be substantially greater. Has your bond counsel reviewed and approved this? Number 6, if the special assessment district defaults on its payments and Tuscarora Township is not liable for the outstanding funds, as Mrs. Fisher stated last month, who is? Would the funds then become a state liability? Will you include in the wording of the loan documents pledging Tuscarora Township's full faith and credit in payment of the loan? If not, does your bond counsel believe that the bank or other organizations will actually loan $2.6 million to less than 200 people? Number 7, Paula from Paula's Restaurant complained at the last meeting about her flow-related costs and how they are assumed to be 18,000 gallons per month, while her meter indicated much lower flows. If they're not metered, don't those become fixed costs rather than variable costs? Also, if her figures and others are correct, then will the flows into the plant be less than anticipated? And if so, will that adversely affect the operation of the plant? If this is a groundwater discharge, is there the potential for groundwater injection and thus increased costs? And if so, has the state notified you of the potential for a mandatory water system being installed to protect the groundwater? Does the sewer use ordinance address this rate structures and her concerns as it should?
Mr. Morse, we're going to limit these to 3 minutes. Yeah, how many?
I'm about
Okay,
15 seconds away.
okay, thank you.
With number 8, with the seasonal timing as it stands and with not enough accurate costs, which the customers will be required to pay, I recommend postponing the vote until the necessary information is obtained. Please respond in writing. Thank you very much.
Thank you. May I get a copy of that? No, we'll.
That's your copy right there.
Thank you very much.
If they're gonna speak, besides identifying themselves, if it's a sewer issue, could they tell us if they're in the district?
Right, okay. Comments? Yes, sir. Yes, please. Please keep our comments to 3 minutes if possible there. Appreciate it.
My name is John Kircheski.
Pardon your name again?
John Kircheski.
Okay, are you a member of the sewer district?
No. This is a completely different issue.
Okay.
I've had many dealings when I lived in Lewiston with the DEQ, and I don't trust them. Let me start this out that way. I don't know how many residents are aware of the fact that last year about this time, 40,000 gallons of what was labeled as brine for dust control was actually flowback from a fracking well which contains benzene, fracking compounds, radioactive material. This was put down on all the dirt roads in the counties, in this county last year on May and June. This is something I might have to take up with the road commission, but I want to know if this township is aware that this was going on. Is this a cost-saving measure? If it is, I think it's foolish because there are many health concerns related. This flowback from these wells are only intended to be put in a injection well deep underground. They're not meant to be used as dust control. So if this county can find out whether or not, or if I have to go, somebody can help me with, is there a county board meeting somewhere in Sheboygan that I could bring this up to? I've known many people in Lewiston. We've had Senator Stupak, when he was still a senator, at our town hall meeting with similar issues concerned. The DEQ, people, a room more full than this in a little town like Lewiston, the DEQ was making answers that just got publicly laughed at because we had documents proving that they were lying. I don't trust the DEQ.
Thank you, John.
You're welcome.
Let me write that.
Yes, go ahead.
Hi, my name's Nut Stool. I live on Dorothy Avenue. I guess I don't know if I'm in the district anymore or not.
Yeah.
Okay, I understand there's a rumor that if the pipes go within so many feet, that you're gonna be automatically, there's no state law that says that?
Only if you're going to get a septic system permit to rebuild your septic system, if you're within 200 feet, they may ask you at that time to hook up.
Okay, so the new septic system I put in last year, I'm fine, even though you guys are planning on running that right in front of my part two of my question would be, I have a well that sits in the front of my yard. And I don't know how far down on Dorothy Avenue, you know, is there a regulation? What is that regulation? How far will that pipe be put from my, artesian flowing well in the
I'm
I
trying to
want my
picture
well protected.
exactly, yeah, I'm trying to picture exactly.
I think the regulation on a pipe for a residential well isn't it 10 feet?
What, that you can put your sewer line 10 feet from my well?
I think that's what it is.
Well, that doesn't taste good.
I don't know what it is.
And then the guy was surveying it says, well, you've got such a nice high spot here, we're gonna put a manhole cover right at the end of your driveway. Well, now I'm really confused about the taste of my well. I want an answer.
Oh, I don't, and then I can't tell you.
There are regulations.
Well, you've got some engineers and engineers,
Joe,
somebody
what's
should be
the,
able to
what's the
answer that.
setback?
The separation from a sewer lead, like your house, if you had a sewer hooked up to your house, that was 10 feet.
No, you're turned line to my well.
Right, no, but I'm talking about your well specifically, so, if we ran a sewer main past your house, like down the road, the regulations require us to make it a certain pipe type to be a 10-foot isolation zone, and any of the wells that we have located, and we know where they are, we're putting in a heavier wall pipe that allows us to be 10 foot away, otherwise I think it's 50 feet.
What about this manhole cover this surveyor guy was telling me about? What about that?
Well-
Isn't that like an open access or something?
Well, it'd be open access for the town.
Right, please.
Yes, we've located all the wells that we can, that we know
You know,
about.
because we've all in town have these wells that, you know, just kind of flaw on their own. And
Yeah,
I guess
but
that's my biggest concern.
We've made quite a few adjustments in the design already to adapt it. So we're
Well,
aware.
appreciate it, that's all I want to know.
Thank you, Annette. Go ahead, Jen.
I just have a couple of little questions. In regards to the weight trim failed sewer project of a few years ago, about what year did that happen? No?
No, it's not.
Was it in the 80s or
90s.
1998,
Mid
you
90s.
said?
Mid-90s.
1990? Okay. About how much was that original debt?
Call me when I'm in my office and I have everything in front of me, otherwise I don't remember
Okay.
numbers.
Do we have any payments that are still outstanding on that?
Hypothetically, yeah, we come to a debt, yes.
Hypothetically, well, either we do or we don't, I mean.
No, we're in disagreement with them at the moment,
Yeah.
So we're trying to pay that up, as what you're saying, or
Well,
like that?
we've come to a point where we requested some prints and they wouldn't provide us until we were paid up, and that is contrary to what, you know, was going on all along. So we're just waiting to hear from them if they're going to provide the prints for us.
Okay, well, when you make the payment, does that come out of general funds or another category or
General fund.
specific? And is that what annual payment that we do?
$37,050.
Okay, that's all, and, oh, yeah, when's the next ordinance meeting? Do we have that
Hasn't been
planned?
set yet.
Okay,
No,
thank you.
we're trying to get answers for the stuff from the last one.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Oh,
Okay, Paula from Paula's Cafe. I think last time I had spoken about the wetlands, and you were gonna check into something, or can anybody give me an answer about the wetlands?
as far as in front of your property, I think it's in the road right away, isn't it? But
It's all around my property,
No, but
all over the place.
you talk about where the pipe is going?
No, I'm talking period with anything that's going on behind me, around me, wherever. For the simple reason is when Louis and I bought the land 26 years ago, we were told, and Danny was there, and he was really good about helping us, and we were told, do nothing around here that's gonna destroy anything, because this is all wetlands. The restaurant is on a slab, it floats, okay? And we can't even dig out that ditch. There's protected flowers and birds and everything all around, okay? So when this is all gonna be going on, you're gonna be into the wetlands. Now, have you or anybody else checked into this?
This is, it's all permitted, isn't it?
Yeah, that's part of the process we go through. We have to work with the local DEQ office with the wetlands department. And they review the plans, they review that as part of the permit process, so they
Do
would.
you have any answers from them yet about the wetlands down there?
They've reviewed the plans with the staff member that reviews putting our pipe or where our construction's taking place.
Okay, now you mentioned to that lady that about the special piping that in front of the houses now. Has the price been added into that, the cost of that special piping, added into the cost of the sewer?
Yeah, at this point, yes.
Been picked up in there, okay. So now, we're talking about the water, I'm talking about the water I use. There's one thing that I didn't mention, and this is to do about the economy, which we all know, it's in bad shape. I have been considering for a while now, before all this even started, closing in the winter. So, and myself and Bridget from In Between has mentioned the same thing, because things are really hard here in the winter. So you need to take into consideration too, because I'm not gonna have my water running in the wintertime, everything will be shut down. And I will more than likely be closed more months than open. And I don't know if anybody else in town has that idea, but I would check in that, because if not, the water that you're saying everybody has now is even less. So that's something that, I think we should check into, because it is a great possibility, okay?
Thank you.
Make a motion.
Make some motion to pay the bills. Second. Support. Jane supports. Never thought I'd say this. Go blue. Never thought I'd say that.
Attaboy.